Charlotte Banks stood at the kitchen sink, staring out the window at the maple tree her late husband James had planted 42 years ago. The morning light filtered through its leaves, casting dappled shadows across the worn countertop. 3 months had passed since James succumbed to pancreatic cancer, a swift and merciless enemy that took him in just 6 months. The suburban house that had once echoed with laughter now amplified her solitude. The doorbell rang, startling her from her reverie. She wiped her hands on her apron and made her way to the front door. Her son Leo stood on the porch, his wife Rebecca beside him, both wearing smiles that seemed rehearsed. "Mom," Leo said, giving her a quick hug. "How are you holding up?" "I'm managing," Charlotte replied, leading them into the living room where family photos chronicled their lives. Leo's graduation, James in his favorite fishing hat, Charlotte's 60th birthday celebration. They settled on the sofa where James used to fall asleep watching baseball games. Rebecca perched on the edge, smoothing her designer skirt, eyes darting around the room as if assessing its value. "Mom," Leo began, a familiar expression on his face. Charlotte recognized it immediately, the look he'd worn since childhood when he wanted something. "Rebecca and I have been talking. We're looking for a larger house for us and the kids." "Oh?" Charlotte sipped her tea, waiting. Rebecca leaned forward, her coral-painted nails tapping against her coffee mug. "The housing market is impossible right now. The down payment for the house we want is $68,000. "We've been saving for a year," Leo added, "but we only have half." The unspoken request hung in the air. Charlotte set down her cup. "How much do you need?" Leo looked down, studying the carpet pattern. "If you sold this house, Mom, you could come live with us. You wouldn't be alone. Noah and Olivia adore you." "It's a win-win," Rebecca added with a practiced smile. "Mother-in-law, you help us with the kids. We take care of you like a real family." That word, family, struck Charlotte like a bell. After James's funeral, the silence in the house had become unbearable. Each room held memories that both comforted and haunted her. Perhaps a change would help heal her grief. "Let me think about it," she said. 3 weeks later, Charlotte signed the sale papers. The suburban house with its creaking floors and 4 decades of memories sold for $120,000. She gave Leo $68,000 for the down payment and deposited the rest in a savings account, her safety net. What she didn't do, a decision that would later prove fateful, was put her name on the deed of the new house. Leo insisted it wasn't necessary, that the house would be for everyone. Why complicate the paperwork? He'd asked. And Charlotte, trusting her only child, agreed. The new house stood in a gated community with a security booth at the entrance. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a 2-car garage. Nice, modern, and strangely cold despite the higher thermostat setting. As the moving truck pulled away, Charlotte stood in the unfamiliar kitchen, wondering if she had made the right decision. The first few months were tolerable. Charlotte established a routine, up at 5 a.m. to make coffee the way Leo liked it, strong with a hint of cinnamon. She prepared breakfast, eggs and bacon, toast with homemade jam. She woke her grandchildren, Noah, 9, and Olivia, 6, combed their hair, packed their lunches, and walked them to the school bus stop. Rebecca would dash out at 7:30, impeccable in her business suit, trailing expensive French perfume. She rarely acknowledged Charlotte on her way out. Leo left half an hour later, sometimes kissing his mother's forehead, sometimes just saying, "Thanks, Mom," without making eye contact. Charlotte would stay behind, clearing plates, doing laundry, mopping floors that never seemed clean enough for Rebecca's standards. Every afternoon when Rebecca returned, she would inspect the house, running her finger over shelves looking for dust, opening the refrigerator and frowning if something wasn't in its exact place, checking the bathrooms like a health inspector. Mother-in-law, the mirrors have spots. Mother-in-law, Noah's shirt isn't ironed well. Mother-in-law, why did you use so much detergent? It's more expensive. Never Charlotte. Never Mrs. Banks, as her friends had called her. Just mother-in-law, as if it were a title, not a name. The children were Charlotte's solace. Noah would hug her when he got home from school, regaling her with tales of classroom triumphs. Olivia would fall asleep on Charlotte's lap while she read stories, her small hand clutching Charlotte's cardigan. But whenever Rebecca saw them together, her expression would harden, smile tightening into something closer to a grimace. One evening, as Charlotte served dinner, a roast that had taken hours to perfect, Olivia declared loudly, "Grandma, your cooking is way better than Mommy's." Rebecca's fork clattered against her plate. Later that night, Charlotte heard raised voices from the master bedroom. "Your mother is spoiling my children, Leo. She gives them everything they ask for. She indulges them, fills their heads with nonsense. She's my mom, Rebecca. Leave her alone." "Your mom or the maid who doesn't pay rent?" Silence followed. Heavy, condemning silence. Charlotte waited for Leo to defend her, to say something, anything, but he didn't. And that's when she knew she had crossed an invisible line. She was no longer the helpful mother-in-law. She was the burden they endured. As autumn turned to winter, the humiliations became more subtle but more constant. Rebecca organized family dinners and forgot to tell Charlotte until the last minute. When Rebecca's friends visited, she introduced Charlotte as Leo's mom who helps us with the house, never as part of the family. They stopped including her in photos. At Christmas, when they posed for a family picture in front of the tree, Rebecca asked Charlotte to take it. "You have a steadier hand, mother-in-law." Charlotte stood behind the camera while they smiled like a picture-perfect Christmas card. That photo ended up framed in the living room, a family portrait where she didn't appear. It was as if she were becoming invisible, a ghost who prepared meals and folded laundry but wasn't really there. One January morning, while Leo and Rebecca were at work and the children at school, Charlotte sat at the kitchen table reviewing her bank statement. A troubling pattern emerged. Each month, $920 disappeared into the household account. She frowned, calculating quickly. Her widow's pension was only $1,600 a month. That evening, when Leo returned, she broached the subject. "Leo, I noticed I'm contributing $920 monthly to the household account. What's the full mortgage payment?" Leo looked uncomfortable, loosening his tie. "About on $400, I pay $480. Charlotte did the math silently. After her contribution to the mortgage, she had just $60 to $80 left each month for all her personal expenses, medications, clothes, occasional lunch with Linda, her old friend. "I see," she said quietly. That night, Charlotte couldn't sleep. She lay in the guest bedroom, her room now, staring at the ceiling. This house, which she had helped purchase, felt less like a home and more like a workplace where she was both undervalued and underpaid. The next day, she bought a hardcover notebook and began documenting everything. Every dollar she invested in the house, every repair she paid for, every grocery bill. She taped receipts meticulously to the pages, noting dates and amounts in her neat handwriting. Something told her she might need this record someday. Then came the discovery that would change everything. While searching for her Social Security card in a drawer, Charlotte found a manila envelope she didn't recognize. Opening it, she found the original deed to the house. Her eyes widened as she read the name listed as owner, Charlotte Diana Banks, widow. Not Leo's name, not Rebecca's, hers alone. She remembered now. When they bought the house, the notary had explained that since she provided the full down payment, it was safest to put everything in her name first. "You can transfer it later if you wish, Mrs. Banks," he'd said. "But this way you're protected if anything happens." Leo had agreed. "It's better this way, Mom. Safer for you." and then they never completed the transfer. Leo asked about it occasionally during the first few months. "We should go to the notary, Mom, to change the deeds." But there was always something more urgent, and eventually he stopped asking. Charlotte didn't remind him. Some part of her, the part that had survived 42 years of marriage, that had raised a son while James worked long hours, knew she needed protection. That part had saved her without her even realizing it. She carefully returned the deed to the envelope and hid it in her sewing box, beneath spools of thread and packets of needles. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "A woman should always have something of her own, Charlotte, something no one can take away." February arrived with colder temperatures and increasingly chilly interactions. Charlotte noticed Rebecca speaking about her on the phone, voice lowered, but not enough. "No, seriously, it's like having a free maid. She gets up early, cooks, cleans, takes care of the kids, and the best part is, I don't have to pay her or give her days off because she's family." The laughter that followed pierced Charlotte's heart. That night, Charlotte made a decision. She drove to an electronics store downtown and purchased a small digital recorder for $45. "For my grandson's school project," she explained to the clerk, though Noah had no such assignment. The recorder, hidden in her apron pocket, captured conversations she was never meant to hear. One evening in March, while Charlotte folded laundry in the adjacent room, Rebecca spoke to Leo in what she thought was a private moment. "Your mom is getting really annoying, Leo. She wants to have an opinion on everything, on how I raise my kids, on what I buy at the supermarket." "She's my mom, Rebecca. She just wants to help. Helping is getting in the way. And every time the kids listen to her more than me, my blood boils. Olivia told me the other day that Grandma cooks better than me. Do you realize what that means?" "Rebecca, please." "No, Leo. Seriously, when she dies, your dad left a good pension. She served her purpose. Maybe it's time for her to find her own space. A small apartment or a nice retirement home." "I can't just kick her out. She's my mother." "You don't have to kick her out. Just suggest that she'd be happier somewhere else, for her own good." Silence followed. The same silence that had greeted Rebecca's maid comment months earlier. Then Leo's voice, tentative and weak. "I'll think about it." Charlotte stopped the recorder, her hands trembling. Her only son was thinking about sending her away, like an appliance that had outlived its usefulness. Over the following weeks, Charlotte recorded 17 different conversations, Rebecca with her friends, with her sister, with Leo, all containing similar sentiments. In each one, Charlotte was referred to as a convenience, not a person, a financial asset, not family. When Leo gave her a new phone, "So you can use WhatsApp more easily, Mom," Charlotte accepted it with a smile, but kept her old one hidden in her dresser drawer. On that old phone, she took pictures of receipts Rebecca tossed in the trash and screenshots of social media posts where Rebecca bragged about the house, the furniture, the renovations, always with hashtags like #myhouse and #personal achievements. My house, my achievements, never our house, never thanks to family. Charlotte was building a case, though she wasn't yet sure what for. All she knew was that the invisible woman was watching, recording, remembering, and one day she would be seen. While outwardly maintaining her role as the helpful mother-in-law, Charlotte was changing inside. The passive widow who had gratefully accepted a place in her son's home was fading. In her place emerged a woman determined to reclaim her dignity, strategically preparing for the moment when she would need to stand up for herself. That moment arrived sooner than she expected, on a cool March evening when a single text message would shatter what little illusion of family remained. Charlotte wiped her hands on her apron, surveying the kitchen she had just cleaned. The house smelled of lemon floor cleaner and the vegetable soup simmering on the stove. A simple dinner for one. The family was out celebrating Rebecca's promotion to Regional Operations Manager, an achievement she'd announced that morning with triumphant excitement. "I got it!" Rebecca had exclaimed, practically floating down the stairs in her pearl gray suit. Leo hugged her, lifting her off the ground. "I knew you'd get it. I knew that position was yours." "We have to celebrate," Leo declared. "In a big way, like my wife deserves." "Should we go to the Skyline Grill?" Rebecca suggested, eyes sparkling. "The one with the view of the city skyline. Whatever it is, money is no object tonight." Noah raised his hand like he was in school. "Am I going?" "Of course, champ, the whole family." Charlotte's heart had skipped a beat at those words. The whole family. That included her, right? "What time should I make the reservation?" she'd asked, trying to sound casual. Rebecca looked at her as if suddenly remembering Charlotte's existence. "Reservation for what?" "The table for the family dinner." An awkward silence followed. Leo cleared his throat. Rebecca exchanged a look with him, one of those glances that spoke volumes without words. "Oh no, mother-in-law," Rebecca said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's an intimate dinner, you know, just us, the kids, my mom who's coming from upstate. Direct family." The words stabbed Charlotte's chest like shards of glass. "I understand," she said, returning to the stove, though there was nothing left to cook. "Besides," Rebecca continued, spreading butter on her toast, "someone has to stay with the house, right? We can't just leave it empty." Leo said nothing. Her son, the boy she'd raised, whom she'd defended against every hardship life had thrown at him, just stared silently at his plate of eggs. Now, hours later, Charlotte sat alone at the kitchen table with a bowl of soup she didn't feel like eating. The soup had gone cold, much like her heart. She checked Instagram, a masochistic impulse she couldn't resist. There they were. The first photo, Rebecca radiant in a red dress, holding a glass of sparkling wine. "Thanks to everyone for joining me on this special day." The second, Noah and Olivia with huge plates of breaded shrimp and French fries. The third, the whole table, Leo, Rebecca, the kids, Rebecca's mother, her sister and brother-in-law, and 2 other people Charlotte didn't recognize. 9 people celebrating, laughing, toasting, and Charlotte eating cold soup in a kitchen she had helped pay for. The post had 237 likes in just 20 minutes. No one asked about Charlotte. No one noticed someone was missing because she had been invisible for a long time. At 9:30, her phone vibrated on the table. A text message from Rebecca. "Mother-in-law, remember to heat up the leftovers in the fridge. Don't waste them." Charlotte read those words once, twice, 3 times. She felt something inside her chest quietly shatter, like when a porcelain cup falls but makes no sound until it's already broken. It wasn't just the text. It was the tone, the mockery hidden behind every word. It was knowing that while she ate alone in this house she had helped pay for, they were toasting with glasses of wine at the Skyline Grill, where the cheapest dish cost $85. Charlotte stood up slowly and walked to her room. She opened the closet and stared at her clothes. Practical sweaters, sensible shoes, the life of a woman who had disappeared into the background of others' lives. Then something strange happened. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't break anything. An icy calm washed over her, as if her body knew something her mind was still processing. "Okay," she typed in response to Rebecca's text. Just 2 letters, nothing more. But in those 2 letters was a decision that had been taking shape in her mind for months, since the first time Rebecca treated her like a maid, since Leo stopped defending her, since she understood she had given her entire life for a family that no longer saw her as part of it. Because what they didn't know, what they would never imagine while toasting with expensive wine, was that Charlotte had been preparing for this moment, and she would no longer heat up their leftovers. This time, she was going to disappear. And when they came back tonight, drunk on wine and arrogance, what they would find would make them tremble. Charlotte moved with purpose as she reached under her bed and pulled out a suitcase, the large one she and James had used for their last trip to the coast. The hotel tag still clung to the corner, a relic from happier times. She placed it on the bed and opened her closet, staring at the contents. This couldn't be a tantrum. It couldn't be a dramatic exit that would end with her begging to come back in a week. This had to be final, calculated, just. She moved to the back of the closet and shifted aside shoeboxes she rarely used. Behind them, wrapped in a plastic bag, was her old sewing box, a wedding gift from her mother. She opened it and removed what she had hidden there for months: the hardcover notebook, the manila envelope containing the deed, and a USB drive with recordings and photos. Charlotte turned the pages of her notebook slowly, tracing the entries with her finger. August 2023, down payment on house, $68,000. September 2023, new refrigerator, $1,990. Washer and dryer, $2,450. October 2023, living room set because Rebecca said the one from their apartment was too dated, $3,200. The list continued. Repairs for a burst pipe, a 55-pound TV for the living room, new mattresses, the master bathroom remodel Rebecca had desperately wanted. On the last page, Charlotte had calculated the totals. Down payment and initial furniture, $84,730. Monthly mortgage contributions, 36 months is $920, $33,120. Repairs, improvements, and extra expenses, $18,150. Total invested, $136,800, $136,800. Almost everything she had received from selling her suburban home. Everything she and James had built over 42 years of marriage. Invested in a house where she was treated worse than a stranger. Charlotte took out her phone and dialed her niece's number. Despite the late hour, Sophia answered on the third ring. "Aunt Charlotte, is everything okay?" The concern in her niece's voice was evident. "Sophia, I need your help. It's urgent. Can you meet me tomorrow morning?" "Of course. What's going on? You sound strange." "I'm better than I've been in 3 years," Charlotte replied with newfound clarity. "But I need legal help regarding my house." "Your house? I thought you were living with Leo and Rebecca." "Exactly. That's why I'm calling." Charlotte explained everything in 15 minutes. The down payment, the deeds, the payments, the humiliation, the text about leftovers. When she finished, Sophia let out a low whistle. "Aunt Charlotte, are you telling me that house is completely in your name and they don't know it?" "That's right." "And you have proof of everything you've invested? Every receipt, every transfer?" "Everything." Sophia's typing could be heard over the phone. "This is legal gold, Aunt Charlotte. You have a solid case, rock solid. You can evict them, charge them back rent, sell the house. Legally, they're your tenants without a lease. They have no rights to the property." Charlotte felt a smile spread across her face. Not a happy smile, but one of justice finally within reach. "I'll be at your office tomorrow at 8:00 a.m. I'll be waiting. Bring all the papers, deeds, receipts, proofs of payment, everything." Next, Charlotte called William Hartman, a notary who had been a close family friend for 30 years. Despite the late hour, he answered. "Mrs. Banks, is everything all right?" His voice was thick with sleep. "Mr. Hartman, I need you to review some documents tomorrow about my house in Nulpin Community." "Did something happen?" "Let's just say I'm going to assert my rights." "Are Leo and his wife giving you trouble?" "You could say that." William sighed. "Oh, Mrs. Banks, I warned you not to transfer the house until you were sure." "I know, my friend, and you were right. That's why I'm calling. They arranged to meet at his office at 10 o'clock a.m. Charlotte made one final call to Linda Stevens, her best friend of 4 decades. They had been neighbors in the suburbs, their sons growing up together. Linda had been widowed 2 years before Charlotte. "Charlotte, what are you doing up so late?" Linda answered, concerned. "Linda, is that spare room you mentioned still available? The one upstairs?" "Yes. Why?" "Can I move in tomorrow?" A pause. "What happened, my friend?" Charlotte's voice finally broke. "I can't do it anymore, Linda. I can't keep being invisible in my own house." "You come tomorrow," Linda said firmly, "whenever you want. I'll be waiting." After hanging up, Charlotte allowed herself to cry, not from sadness, but from relief. After 3 years of humiliation, she was finally going to reclaim her dignity. She checked Instagram again. According to their stories, the family was on dessert, a chocolate raspberry tower that cost $34 a slice. They'd be home after midnight, maybe 1 o'clock a.m. Charlotte had time. She packed methodically. Clothes, shoes, her wedding photos, the silver rosary James had bought her in Mexico, books she had collected over years, her Italian coffee maker. Every object represented a piece of her recovered identity. Charlotte connected her digital recorder to her laptop and copied all 17 recordings to the USB drive. She added photos from her old phone, receipts Rebecca had thrown away, screenshots of social media posts bragging about my house and personal achievements. When the suitcase was packed, Charlotte sat at the small desk in her room and wrote a letter in her clear handwriting. "Leo, for 3 years I have lived in this house as an invisible maid. I cooked, cleaned, cared for your children, paid bills, and swallowed humiliations in silence. Tonight, while you celebrated Rebecca's promotion and sent me a text to heat up leftovers, I made a decision. I will no longer be the ghost of this family. You will find documents on your nightstand. Read them carefully. We will see each other soon with lawyers present. I have loved you my whole life, but love doesn't mean letting you walk all over me. Mom." She folded the letter and placed it on Leo's pillow. Then she took out the manila envelope with the deeds. Inside, she placed a yellow sticky note. "This house is in my name. It always was. And I have proof of every dollar I invested in it. $136,800 to be exact. See you at the notary's office." Charlotte left the envelope on Leo's nightstand, clearly visible. She carried her suitcase down the stairs carefully, her 68-year-old legs protesting but holding firm. At the front door, she took one last look at the house she had helped build, at the floors she had mopped 1,000 times, at the walls she had painted when they moved in, at the kitchen where she had prepared countless meals that no one had appreciated. She felt not sadness, but freedom. Charlotte locked the door behind her, and for the first time in 3 years took the key with her. After all, it was her house. It was 1:23 a.m. when Leo's car entered the gated community. The security guard waved them through with a friendly greeting. Music played loudly as they pulled into the driveway, Rebecca leaning against Leo's shoulder, laughing at something he'd said. She had consumed 3 glasses of red wine, 2 of champagne, and a shot of tequila with which they had made a final toast. Leo wasn't sober either, having had 2 double whiskeys and several beers. The children were asleep in the back seat. They parked the car, and Rebecca nearly tripped getting out, laughing at her unsteady balance in high heels. Leo caught her by the waist, pulling her close. "Regional manager," he whispered, nuzzling her neck. "My wife," the manager. "And you, husband of the year," she replied, hanging on his arm as they walked up the porch steps. Leo fumbled for his keys, swaying slightly. "Shh," Rebecca giggled. "Don't wake your mom." "Let her sleep," Leo replied. "She deserves it after taking care of the house all night." They opened the door to darkness, with only the upstairs hallway light on. the way Charlotte always left it so they wouldn't trip coming home. "Mom!" Leo called out, his voice slurred. Silence answered. Rebecca turned on the living room light, and then they saw it. The room was different. Not empty, but altered. The Persian rug Charlotte had brought from her old house, the one her mother had purchased 50 years ago, was gone. The embroidered cushions she had made by hand over months had disappeared. The landscape paintings from the coast that James had given Charlotte on their anniversaries no longer adorned the walls. "What?" Rebecca frowned. "Did your mother rearrange things?" Leo walked to the kitchen and flipped on the light. The Italian coffee maker was gone. The ceramic mugs Charlotte collected were missing. The apron that always hung on the hook beside the refrigerator had vanished. "Mom!" he called, louder now. "Where are you?" They went upstairs, the alcohol fog beginning to clear from their minds. Charlotte's door was ajar. Leo pushed it open and turned on the light. The bed was perfectly made, as she always left it, but empty. The closet stood open, devoid of her clothes. Only the hangers remained, swinging slightly in the breeze from the doorway. "What the hell?" Leo muttered, running his hands through his hair. He checked the bathroom. Charlotte's toothbrush, face cream, comb, rose-scented perfume, all gone. He returned to her room, and that's when he saw it. On his bed in the master bedroom lay a folded letter. He grabbed it with trembling hands and unfolded it. Rebecca read over his shoulder, her face draining of color as she processed the words. "What does it say?" Rebecca asked, voice rising with panic. "Did she leave? Did your mother leave?" Leo didn't answer. His eyes had found the manila envelope on his nightstand. He opened it with clumsy fingers and pulled out the deed to the house. His eyes scanned the document once, twice, then fixed on the name written in official notary script. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." "What is it?" Rebecca snatched the papers from him. Her eyes widened as she read, then turned to Leo in disbelief. This can't be real. The house is in her name?" "The whole house," Leo said, his voice hollow. "It was always in her name." But you paid the down payment. You told me—" "She paid the down payment," Leo interrupted, sitting heavily on the bed. "She sold her house. $68,000. I didn't have anything. It all came from her." Rebecca's eyes fell on the yellow sticky note Charlotte had left. $136,800, she read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you telling me your mom invested over $100,000 in this house, and we never transferred the property?" Leo buried his face in his hands. "We never did the transfer." Noah appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Dad? What's happening? Where's Grandma?" Leo looked at his son, unable to find words to explain what he himself couldn't comprehend. Rebecca began pacing, her celebration forgotten as reality crashed around her. "This can't be happening," she said, voice rising. "We've lived here for 3 years. 3 years. This is my house." "It's her house," Leo corrected, his tone defeated. "Legally, it was always her house." "Then you demand that she give it to you. She's your mother. She has an obligation." Leo looked up, his eyes red. "Like the obligation we had to treat her with respect? To not exclude her from dinner tonight?" "We left her alone, Rebecca. In her own house, we left her eating leftovers while we spent $300 on wine." Rebecca stood speechless, her celebration outfit suddenly looking garish in the harsh bedroom light. Olivia woke up and joined her brother in the doorway, calling for her grandmother. "Where's Grandma? I want Grandma." Leo dialed Charlotte's number. No answer. He sent text after text. "Mom, please answer." "Mom, I'm so sorry." "Mom, We can fix this. None received a reply. That night, as reality settled over them, the family that had taken Charlotte for granted faced their first glimpse of life without her, and the stunning revelation that the home they thought was theirs had never legally belonged to them at all. Sunday morning found Charlotte at Linda's kitchen table, sipping chamomile tea with honey. She had slept deeply for the first time in years, wrapped in clean blankets that smelled of fabric softener in the guest room of her friend's cozy townhouse. Her phone showed 32 notifications, 23 missed calls from Leo, 15 WhatsApp messages, 4 from Rebecca, and 2 from unknown numbers, likely concerned relatives who had already heard about her departure. She ignored them all. Instead, she opened Facebook, a platform she rarely used, filled with old contacts, book club friends, former neighbors, distant cousins, high school classmates. Charlotte had 437 Facebook friends who rarely saw her posts because she never shared anything. Until today. With steady fingers, she typed, "After 3 years of caring for a family that made me invisible, I learned that self-love isn't selfishness, it's survival." She pressed post and closed the app, turning her attention to the breakfast Linda had prepared. Green chilaquiles, refried beans, and coffee with cinnamon, her favorite. "How did you sleep?" Linda asked, pouring fresh orange juice. "Like I haven't in years," Charlotte replied, cutting into the chilaquiles. "Today begins the legal part." At 8:00 sharp, Charlotte arrived at Sophia's downtown law office. Her niece greeted her with a fierce hug and a steaming cup of coffee. "Aunt Charlotte, you're a legend. I couldn't sleep thinking about your case. Did you bring everything?" Charlotte removed the manila envelope with the deeds, the notebook with receipts, and the USB drive from her bag. Sophia spread everything across her desk, eyes gleaming as she assessed each document. "This is perfect," she marveled, plugging the USB into her computer. "You have impeccable documentation." She played snippets of the recordings, her professional demeanor giving way to indignation as Rebecca's voice filled the room. "Like having a free maid. When the old woman dies." She served her purpose. Sophia's face hardened. "With this evidence, we can do whatever you want. Immediate eviction, collection of back rent, compensation for moral damages. Tell me what you need." "I need," Charlotte said slowly, "for them to understand what they lost, for them to feel what I felt, and learn that love isn't free when you confuse it with servitude." Sophia nodded, understanding. "Then we're going to give them a lesson they won't forget." They spent 3 hours strategizing, lawyers' letters, subpoenas, property appraisals, calculations of back rent based on commercial rates for the neighborhood. At 11:00, Sophia sent the first official document, a legal summons. Mrs. Charlotte Diana Banks, legal owner of the property located at 847 Jurist Circuit, Noalpin, requires the presence of Mr. Leo James Banks and Mrs. Rebecca Ann Dunn Banks at the offices of Notary William Hartman on Monday, March 18th at 10:00 a.m. to resolve matters of property and occupancy. Attendance is mandatory. Please present with official identification. While her niece worked, Charlotte finally checked her messages from Leo. His tone had evolved from confusion to desperation. "Mom, please, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know the house was in your name. I never meant to disrespect you. The kids are asking for you. Noah is crying. Olivia doesn't understand what happened. Mom, you're my mother. We can't end like this." From Rebecca, the messages were strikingly different from her usual imperious tone. "Mother-in-law, I think this is all getting out of proportion. If you were bothered by last night's message, I apologize. It was a misunderstanding. Leo is very upset. The kids are too. Please reconsider. Can't we talk like civilized adults?" Charlotte put her phone away without responding. Instead, she checked Facebook. Her simple post had exploded. 243 reactions, 189 comments. She scrolled through them. Charlotte, I didn't know you were going through this. I always saw you as such a strong woman. I'm glad you found your voice. Rosa, her former neighbor. My friend, I've been living with my son and his wife for 2 years. I identify so much with this. You made me cry. Thank you for sharing. Patricia from the book club. My mom went through something similar. She ended up in the hospital from stress. I wish she'd had your courage. A cousin Charlotte hadn't seen in years. This hit me hard. All older women deserve respect, not crumbs. Mrs. Guadalupe, a childhood friend. The comments continued. Dozens of women sharing similar experiences. Women living with their children, treated as unpaid caregivers. Women who had lost their homes, their savings, their dignity. Her small post had become a refuge for silenced voices. At 3:00 p.m., Charlotte's sister Margaret called. Charlotte, what's going on? Leo called me crying. He says you left the house. I left my house, Charlotte corrected, where I was living as a domestic servant. But he's your son? It's family. Family doesn't humiliate you, Margaret. Family doesn't make you feel invisible. Family doesn't send you mocking texts about heating up leftovers while they celebrate without you. Silence fell on the other end. They did that? Charlotte told her everything, every detail of the past 3 years. When she finished, Margaret was crying. Forgive me, she sobbed. I thought you were happy there. I thought it was a good arrangement. Everyone thought that because I smiled and didn't complain, Charlotte replied. But smiling doesn't mean you're happy. That evening, Charlotte received a text from an unexpected source, her neighbor from the community. Mrs. Banks, I just wanted to tell you that everyone here knows what happened, and you are completely right. I saw you every day taking out the trash, washing their car, buying groceries, and they never even thanked you. How did they find out? Charlotte asked, surprised. Rebecca went to the store this afternoon. Her eyes were swollen from crying. When Mrs. Carmela asked what was wrong, she exploded, blamed you for everything, said you were ungrateful, that you left them on the street, that you were being selfish. And what did the neighbors say? Mrs. Carmela told her that you were the owner of the house and had every right to leave whenever you wanted, that she would have done the same. The other ladies said worse things. Rebecca ran back home with her tail between her legs. For the first time in 3 years, the neighbors who had silently witnessed Charlotte's suffering were speaking up. The tide was turning. Before bed, Charlotte checked Facebook again. Her post now had 420 reactions and 352 comments. More significantly, 23 women had sent her private messages sharing their stories. Stories of mistreated mothers-in-law, forgotten mothers, exploited grandmothers. One woman wrote, Charlotte, thank you for speaking up. You gave me the courage to leave my daughter's house. I'm looking for an apartment tomorrow. Another shared, I've been taking care of my grandkids for free for 5 years while my daughter-in-law goes out to have fun. After reading your story, tomorrow I will tell her she can't keep taking advantage of me. Charlotte's broken silence was giving other women strength to find their voices. Her personal stand had become a collective awakening. At 11:00 p.m., Leo texted, Mom, we received the lawyer's summons. Please don't do this. We're family. For the first time in 48 hours, Charlotte replied, Family is what you build with respect, son, not with blood and obligations. See you Monday at the notary's office. She turned off her phone and closed her eyes, sleeping peacefully while across town, her son and daughter-in-law faced the consequences of treating an invisible woman as if she didn't matter, only to discover she held all the power they had taken for granted. Sunday passed in a blur of preparations and emotional upheaval. Leo appeared at Linda's house at 9 o'clock a.m., ringing the doorbell insistently until Linda answered. "You can't see her," Linda said firmly, blocking the entrance. "She's my mother, ma'am. Please." Leo's voice broke, his appearance disheveled, unshaven, with deep circles under his eyes. "She's a woman who is finally resting after 3 years of exploitation," Linda retorted, "and I'm not going to let you disturb her." Charlotte heard the exchange from upstairs. Something in her son's desperate tone moved her. She descended the stairs slowly, watching recognition and relief flood Leo's face. "Mom!" The word came out as half-sob. "Leo, please, we need to talk." Linda gave Charlotte a questioning look. "It's okay. Let him in." They sat in Linda's small living room, Linda hovering nearby like a protective sentinel. Leo seemed unsure where to begin, running his hands through his hair, biting his lip. Finally he spoke. "I didn't know the house was in your name." "I know. Why did you never tell me?" That question. That damned question. "I did tell you, Leo. For the first 6 months, I reminded you every 2 weeks. Son, we need to go to the notary to do the transfer. Do you remember what you'd say?" Leo looked down. "Later, Mom. We're really busy with the move right now. Next week, Mom. There's no rush, Mom. We're family after all." And then you stopped responding, and I stopped asking. Because a part of me, the wise part that survived 42 years of marriage, knew I would need that protection. Protection from me? Your own son? Leo looked wounded. "From the situation," Charlotte corrected. "From becoming what I became. A domestic servant in my own house." Leo covered his face with his hands. "I never wanted you to feel that way. But I did feel that way. Every day for 3 years. Rebecca, she can be harsh sometimes, but she's not a bad person. Leo, do you know how much your mother invested in that house?" He swallowed hard. "The deeds say $136,800. Exactly. Do you know where that money came from? From the sale of the house in the suburbs. From the sale of the house where your father and I lived for 42 years, where we raised you, where we celebrated every one of your birthdays, where your father died in my bed, holding my hand." Charlotte's voice cracked. "I sold my memories, Leo. I sold the last piece of your father I had left. And I did it for you." Leo began to cry, thick tears falling onto his hands. "Mom, I didn't know." "You didn't know because you never asked. You assumed I was fine, that taking care of your kids and cleaning your house was enough purpose for me." Charlotte reached into her purse and took out the hardcover notebook. She placed it on the coffee table. "Open it." With trembling hands, Leo began to read, page after page of taped receipts, proof of transfers, notes in his mother's neat handwriting. His voice became a whisper as he reached the final calculations. "Over 130,000, he said hoarsely. "I don't have that kind of money to pay you back." "I know. So what do you want? The house? Are you going to kick us out onto the street?" The million-dollar question. Charlotte took a deep breath. "I want you to understand what you lost. It wasn't just a house, Leo. It wasn't just furniture or money. You lost your mother. You lost me." "I haven't lost you. You're right here." "When was the last time you asked how I was, how I slept, if my back hurt from cleaning so much, if I missed your father, if I felt lonely?" Silence. "When was the last time you hugged me without it being in passing? That you sat down with me for coffee? That you really looked me in the eyes?" More silence. "I became a service, Leo, not your mother, and you let it happen." "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "I know. But sorry doesn't give me back 3 years of my life. It doesn't give me back my dignity. Charlotte took the USB drive from her pocket and placed it on the table next to the notebook. Listen to this when you get home, but do it alone. Rebecca can't be there. Why? Because if you listen to it together, you'll end up getting a divorce tonight. And even though your wife made my life impossible, your children don't deserve a broken home. Leo picked up the USB drive as if it were a bomb. Mom, what's on here? The truth. 17 recordings of conversations where Rebecca talks about me when she thinks I'm not listening, where she plans how to get rid of me, where she makes fun of me with her friends. Leo's face crumbled. Listen to it, Charlotte urged. All of it. And then you decide if you want us to meet at the notary's office tomorrow with your wife present, or if you'd rather we talk just the two of us first. He stood up, unsteady, clutching the USB drive and notebook. Mom, is there anything I can do to fix this? Yes, Charlotte said. You can learn, you can change, and you can teach your children that elderly people are not furniture, that your mother was not a servant, that love and respect are not optional in a family. Leo left without another word. Linda sat next to Charlotte and held her as she cried. Did you do the right thing? Linda asked softly. I don't know, Charlotte admitted, but I did what was necessary. Monday morning arrived with a sense of finality. At 9:30, Charlotte entered William Hartman's office, Sophia beside her with a leather briefcase full of documents. Her niece looked every inch the formidable attorney in her black pantsuit and severe bun. Ready, Aunt Charlotte? Sophia asked as they climbed the stairs of the colonial building in downtown Coyoacan. Ready. William welcomed them into his office with its high ceilings and old mahogany furniture. The room smelled of leather-bound books and coffee. Mrs. Banks, he greeted her with a fatherly hug. I'm sorry things have come to this. Me too, my friend. But here we are. They took their seats. The clock read 9:47. At 9:52, footsteps sounded on the stairs. The door opened and Leo entered first, dressed in a gray suit and dark tie as if attending a funeral. His eyes were sunken and red from lack of sleep. Behind him came Rebecca, but not the confident, arrogant Rebecca that Charlotte knew. This Rebecca wore a conservative navy blue dress, modest heels, little makeup, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked like a scolded child. When she saw Charlotte, she immediately looked away. Good morning, Leo said in a hoarse voice. Good morning, Charlotte replied. They sat opposite each other, Mr. Hartman at the head of the table. Sophia arranged documents with precise professional movements. All right, William began, putting on his glasses. We are here to resolve a situation of property and occupancy. Mrs. Banks is the legal owner of the property located at— We know, Rebecca interrupted, her voice tense. We already know everything. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Oh, you do? Do you know that my client has invested $136,800 in that property? Yes. And that you have technically been living without a lease for 3 years? Yes. And that my client has the legal right to request immediate eviction, collect back rent, and sue for moral damages. Rebecca looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Yes, we know. We know everything. Silence fell over the room. Leo cleared his throat. Mom, I listened to the recordings. All of them. His voice cracked. All 17. It took me 4 hours, and each one destroyed me a little more. Rebecca closed her eyes, shame evident in every line of her body. I had no idea about the things Rebecca was saying about you behind my back, Leo continued, looking directly at Charlotte. Leo, Rebecca began. No, he cut her off with unexpected harshness. You are not going to minimize this. Not now. He turned back to Charlotte. Mom, I heard how she talked about you with her friends, how she made fun of you, How she planned. He ran his hands over his face, struggling to continue. How she planned to convince me to send you to a nursing home when you were no longer useful. Rebecca sobbed. I didn't mean it. It was frustration. You didn't mean it? Leo's voice rose. There's a recording from October where you tell your sister, and I quote, "As soon as the old woman gets sick or starts with dementia, we'll send her to a cheap nursing home and keep the whole house." You didn't mean that either? Rebecca's face crumpled. Sophia, sensing weakness, took out her laptop. Would you like to listen to the recordings here in the presence of the notary? I have certified copies. No, Rebecca said quickly. That's not necessary. Oh, I think it is, Sophia pressed. Because my client not only has recordings, she also has witness statements from neighbors about the treatment she received, photographs of humiliating messages, and a detailed record of psychological abuse and financial exploitation. Rebecca turned pale. Financial exploitation, Sophia repeated, is a crime, especially when it involves senior citizens. We could not only win the house, Mrs. Banks, we could take this to criminal court. No! Rebecca stood abruptly. Please, that's not necessary. I'll do whatever it takes. Sit down, Leo ordered. Rebecca collapsed back into her chair, trembling. William, who had observed everything in silence, spoke in a grave voice. Mrs. Rebecca, I have known Mrs. Charlotte for 30 years. She is a woman of honor, and you, forgive my frankness, treated her like dirt. Rebecca buried her face in her hands. I know, she moaned. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're sorry? Charlotte finally asked. Her voice emerged colder than she had expected. Are you sorry you humiliated me, or are you sorry you got caught? Rebecca looked up, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm sorry for both, she admitted. I'm sorry I was cruel. I'm sorry I treated you like a servant. She took a shaky breath. And I'm sorry I was exposed like this because it forced me to see the monster I became. This surprised Charlotte. She had expected excuses, justifications, not self-criticism. Rebecca continued, wiping her tears with trembling hands. I grew up poor, Mrs. Charlotte. Very poor. My mother worked as a maid her whole life. And when I managed to get out of that poverty, when I got my career and my position, I think I became exactly what I hated most, the employers who treated my mother badly. Her voice broke completely. And the worst part is I did it to you, to the woman who helped us get a house, who took care of my children, who gave me a home. I was the worst version of myself with you. Leo looked at his wife with a mixture of pain and disappointment. Why? Why did you treat her like that if you knew how your own mother felt? Because I was afraid, Rebecca admitted between sobs. Afraid the kids would love you more. Afraid Leo would see that you were a better mother, a better cook, better at everything. Afraid of being seen as the useless daughter-in-law who needs her mother-in-law to keep her house running. She closed her eyes. So I treated you badly to feel superior, to remind myself that I was the lady of the house, the one in charge, the successful one. And you were just the mother-in-law living with us. Rebecca turned to Charlotte, her eyes red and swollen. But it wasn't my house. It was your house, the one you paid for, the one you built. And I was so stupid, so blind, so cruel that I didn't see it until you left. Sophia looked at Charlotte, waiting for a signal. Charlotte knew her niece wanted to destroy Rebecca legally. She had all the elements to do it. But something in Rebecca's confession, in her broken voice, her admission of fear, made Charlotte pause. Does your mother know how you treated me? she asked. Rebecca shook her head. If she found out, she would disown me. She adores you. She always told me, treat your mother-in-law how you would want your own mother to be treated. Wise advice, Charlotte said coldly. Too bad you didn't listen. William cleared his throat. Well, we need to resolve the practical situation. Mrs. Banks has 3 legal options. Sophia spread documents on the table. Option 1, immediate eviction. You have 30 days to vacate the property. Mrs. Banks gets her house back. Rebecca paled further. Option 2, full purchase. You pay Mrs. Banks $136,800 within a period not exceeding 90 days. The deed is transferred. The house becomes legally yours. Leo shook his head. We don't have that kind of money, not even close. Option 3, Sophia said, looking at Charlotte. This was Charlotte's idea, the one they had discussed at length. Property division and cohabitation agreement. What does that mean? Leo asked. Charlotte took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. It means we legally divide the house. I get 60% of the property. You get 40%, registered with the notary with all legal force. 60-40? Rebecca frowned, confused. That means the house will still be more in your name than ours. But you will have something. You won't be on the street. And where would you live? Leo asked. I'm not going back to that house, Charlotte said firmly. I'm staying where I am, but my 60% comes with conditions. Sophia unfolded another document. Mrs. Banks will rent her percentage of the house to a family she personally selects, tenants who will live in the house with you. You will share common spaces. They will pay a monthly rent of $850 that will go directly to Mrs. Banks. Rebecca's eyes widened. You want us to live with strangers? I want you to learn how it feels to share your space with someone you didn't choose, Charlotte replied evenly. I want you to understand the discomfort, the lack of privacy, having to be nice to people who are in your house. Leo understood immediately. Like how you felt with us. Exactly. And the other condition? He asked. Family therapy, Charlotte said. Leo, you and I will go to therapy once a week for 6 months. I'll pay for the first 10 sessions. You pay for the rest, without Rebecca, just the 2 of us. Leo's eyes filled with tears. You would do that? After everything, you would still want to fix our relationship? You're my son, Charlotte said, her voice trembling. You made terrible mistakes. You failed me, but you're my son, and I'm not going to give up on you without trying. Leo stood up, walked around the table, and knelt in front of his mother. Forgive me, Mom. Please forgive me. Charlotte embraced him, her own tears flowing freely. Rebecca watched from her chair, destroyed. And me? She asked in a small voice. Is there anything I can do to earn your forgiveness? Charlotte looked at her directly. You can start by treating the tenants I'm going to put in your house well. You can start by valuing what you have. And you can start by teaching my grandchildren that respect is not optional. Rebecca nodded, wiping her tears. I will. I promise you. William prepared the documents. Property division 60-40, lease agreement for Charlotte's portion, protection clauses. Everything legal, everything binding. When they left the notary's office 2 hours later, Charlotte felt free. And her family had a lesson that would last for years. Because sometimes justice isn't about destruction. It's about making people live with the consequences of their actions every single day. 2 weeks after the meeting at the notary's office, Charlotte sat across from Teresa Williams in a cafe in Coyoacán. The 52-year-old elementary school teacher had a warm, open face framed by salt and pepper curls. Her 2 children, Jackson, 14, and Maya, 11, waited outside, chatting animatedly about the neighborhood. Mrs. Banks, Teresa said with hopeful eyes, are you sure you want to rent us part of your house? With 2 teenagers, we make noise. I'm completely sure, Charlotte replied, sipping her coffee. And please call me Charlotte. She explained the situation in detail, omitting nothing. Teresa needed to know what she was getting into. So, Teresa said finally, you want my family and me to be your living lesson for your son and daughter-in-law. I want you to have a decent home, Charlotte corrected. And yes, for my relatives to learn some empathy along the way. Teresa smiled. Sounds fair. When can we move in? A week later, on April 1st, the moving truck arrived at 847 Jurist Circuit. Charlotte went to supervise, her right as co-owner. Rebecca opened the door, her face cycling through various emotions before settling on a forced smile. Mother-in-law, come in. Charlotte, she corrected. Call me Charlotte. Charlotte, Rebecca repeated, swallowing hard. Behind Charlotte stood Teresa and her children, appraising the house with wide eyes. It's huge, Maya whispered. It's nice, Jackson agreed. Leo appeared from the kitchen, looking better than at the notary's office, though guilt still shadowed his eyes. Mom, he greeted her, then turned to Teresa. You must be Mrs. Williams. Teresa is fine, she said, extending her hand. Thank you for having us. We didn't have a choice, Rebecca muttered under her breath. Charlotte gave her a pointed look. Rebecca flushed. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. Welcome to our home. Charlotte showed them their assigned rooms according to the agreement. A large bedroom for Teresa, another for Jackson, and Maya would share with Olivia, a decision the 6-year-old had enthusiastically supported, thrilled at the prospect of a big sister. That first night, Teresa made dinner, green chicken enchiladas. The aroma filled the house. Rebecca descended the stairs, confusion evident on her face. What's that smell? Dinner, Teresa replied cheerfully. I made extra if you'd like to join us. Charlotte watched Rebecca's expression, the unspoken "this is my kitchen" momentarily visible before she caught herself, remembering it wasn't just her kitchen anymore. Thank you, she said with visible effort. It smells delicious. They all ate together at the dining table. Leo, Rebecca, Noah, Olivia, Teresa, Jackson, and Maya. A full table of what had been strangers now navigating a new dynamic. The children bonded almost instantly. Noah and Jackson discovered a shared passion for basketball, while Olivia attached herself to Maya with unabashed admiration. Rebecca picked at her food in silence, uncomfortable at her own table, while Leo made genuine efforts to engage their new housemates in conversation. The weeks passed. Charlotte and Leo started therapy. The first session was devastating, both of them crying as they confronted 3 years of pain and neglect. I let her get lost, Leo told Dr. Montero, a compassionate woman in her 50s. I let our bond break because it was easier to keep the peace with Rebecca than to defend you. And I let it happen, Charlotte admitted, because I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid that if I protested, they would kick me out and I'd have nowhere to go. Dr. Montero looked at them with understanding. Fear makes us allow intolerable things, she said, but you two still have a chance to rebuild. And slowly, session by session, they began to do just that. Leo started calling Charlotte regularly, not just about the house or the agreement, but to ask how she was, what she had eaten, if she had slept well. Simple things he hadn't done in 3 years. One day he appeared at Linda's house with flowers. Just because, he said, because you're my mom and I love you. Charlotte wept, holding those flowers all afternoon. Meanwhile, at the house, cohabitation created revealing situations. Teresa reported everything in their weekly calls. Yesterday, Rebecca got upset because Jackson used too much hot water. Teresa told Charlotte, chuckling. I politely reminded her that we pay rent and are entitled to hot water. She turned red but didn't argue. And Leo? Leo is trying. He played basketball with the boys on Saturday. I think he's learning. There were also unexpected moments of growth. Maya struggled with fractions in her math homework. Rebecca, an engineer by training, noticed her frustration and offered help. Thank you, Mrs. Rebecca, Maya said afterward with a shy smile. Teresa told Charlotte that Rebecca had cried later that evening because for the first time in months, someone had genuinely thanked her for something. One Sunday, a month after the move, Leo invited Charlotte over for lunch. At the house, he said. Teresa is making mole. She says it's your favorite. Charlotte hesitated. Mom, Leo pleaded, please, the kids miss you, and I need you to see that I'm trying. She agreed, entering the house with her heart pounding. She hadn't been there since the night she left. Everything looked the same but different. Maya's drawings adorned the refrigerator. Jackson's basketball shoes sat on the porch. Laughter and voices filled the once tense space. Grandma! Olivia ran to hug her. You came. I missed you, Grandma, Noah said, taller than she remembered. Teresa greeted her with a warm embrace. Come in, Charlotte. Your house? Your table? Rebecca stood in the kitchen, nervously wiping her hands on her apron. Charlotte, she said, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. They looked at each other, two women who had been at war, now taking tentative steps toward a fragile peace. The mole smells delicious, Charlotte offered. Teresa taught me her recipe, Rebecca admitted. It's better than mine. It was the first time Charlotte had heard Rebecca acknowledge that someone did something better than her. They gathered around the table, 8 people sharing a meal. Jackson told a joke. Maya sang a song she'd learned at school. Noah proudly displayed his improved grades. Olivia showed Charlotte a drawing she'd made of her new big family. Everyone was in it. Teresa, her kids, Leo, Rebecca, Olivia, Noah, and Charlotte in the center with a crown drawn on her head. You're the queen, Grandma, Olivia explained solemnly, because you made us all be together. Charlotte broke down, crying in front of everyone. Leo took her hand. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on us, for teaching us the hardest lesson we needed. After lunch, Rebecca asked to speak with Charlotte alone. They stepped onto the back patio, the same place where Charlotte used to hang laundry. Charlotte, Rebecca began, her voice trembling, I know I have no right to ask for anything. I know I hurt you in unforgivable ways, but I want you to know that I'm in therapy, individual therapy, working on my insecurities, my need for control, everything. I'm glad, Charlotte said sincerely. Teresa is teaching me a lot, Rebecca continued, about humility, about gratitude. She lost her husband, she lost her home, and yet she smiles every day. She's grateful for what she has, and I had everything, and I never stopped complaining. She wiped away a tear. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to let me try to be better, to see that I'm trying. Charlotte studied her, this woman who had made her invisible, who had planned to discard her, who had humiliated her for 3 years. But she also saw a broken woman trying to rebuild herself. Forgiveness isn't asked for, Charlotte told her. It's earned, with actions, with time, with real change. I know, and I'm willing to try. Then we'll see if you can achieve it. 6 months later, in October, things had changed dramatically. Charlotte and Leo had a rebuilt relationship, not perfect, but real and honest. They saw each other twice weekly, spoke on the phone, and Leo genuinely sought her advice, not just out of politeness. Rebecca had improved considerably. She remained proud but had learned restraint and gratitude. The once imperious woman who treated Charlotte like a servant now volunteered at Teresa's school, helping with math tutoring. One day, Rebecca called Charlotte. "Could we get coffee, just the two of us?" They met at a neutral Starbucks. Rebecca looked different, more relaxed, less defensive. "I want to offer you something," she said, placing papers on the table. "I've been saving and I spoke with the bank. I can get a loan." She slid the documents toward Charlotte. "I want to buy your 60% of the house over 5 years with monthly payments of $2,300. It's all calculated here with fair interest." Charlotte read the offer in silence. "Why?" she finally asked. "Because it's the right thing to do," Rebecca said simply. "It's your house, your investment, your sacrifice. We've been living off your generosity for too long." "I thought you wanted to keep the house for free," Charlotte remarked with an ironic smile. "The Rebecca from a year ago did," she admitted. "Today's Rebecca wants to earn things, wants to pay what she owes, wants to sleep without guilt." Charlotte studied the numbers. It was a fair offer, very fair. "And Teresa and her kids? We've offered to let them stay as our official tenants with a real contract and fair rent. They accepted. The kids are inseparable now. And Teresa has become my friend, my external conscience." "Okay," Charlotte said. "I accept." Rebecca exhaled in relief. "Thank you for giving me this chance, for not destroying us when you could have." "I gain nothing by destroying you, Rebecca. I gain by seeing my family heal." Today, a year and 3 months after that night Charlotte left with her suitcase, she sits in her small rented apartment in downtown Keowakan. At 69, she teaches knitting classes at the community center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She attends therapy monthly, walks with Linda every morning, and has joined a book club. Leo visits every Sunday, sometimes with the children, sometimes alone. They cook together, recreating dishes from his childhood. Rebecca sends occasional texts, pictures of the children, recipes she's tried, small gestures showing she's still trying. Teresa and Charlotte have become close friends. Her children call Charlotte Aunt Betty. The $850 rent plus Rebecca's $2,300 monthly payments allows Charlotte to live comfortably, with independence and dignity. Did she get her family back? Not completely. Some wounds left permanent scars, but she recovered something more important: herself, her name, her voice, her right to be treated with respect. Last week, Olivia gave Charlotte a new drawing. It showed Charlotte standing in front of a house, suitcase in hand, smiling. Underneath, in uneven letters, Olivia had written, "My Grandma Charlotte, the bravest woman I know, because she knew when to leave and when to come back." Charlotte has it framed in her living room, because that 7-year-old understood what many adults never grasp. Staying where you're hurt isn't love, it's habit. And breaking that habit, even when it's scary, even when it makes you feel selfish, is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Charlotte now sleeps peacefully in her own bed, in her own space, in her own life. And when she looks in the mirror, she finally sees what she sought for 3 years: a visible woman, a valuable woman, a free woman. On Sunday afternoons, she sits in the park in Koyokan with Noah and Olivia, eating ice cream under the shade of a tree. Leo joins them, bringing coffee for his mother. "Are you happy now, Grandma?" Olivia asks, ice cream on her nose. Charlotte lifts her onto her lap, though the girl is getting too big for it. "Now I'm happy because I'm where I choose to be, not where I'm tolerated." "Mom," Leo says, "I know I say it often, but thank you for not giving up on us, for teaching us the hardest lesson we needed." "You're welcome, son." As she watches her grandchildren play, Charlotte thinks of all the women who wrote to her after her Facebook post, those who found the courage to leave, those who set boundaries, those who reclaimed their dignity. She understands that her story was never just hers. It belonged to all of them, the invisible ones who gave everything, hoping for crumbs of respect in return. Because true wealth isn't in what you own, it's in what you don't allow to be taken from you. And Charlotte Banks, widow of James, 69 years old, got her soul back. And no one will ever steal that from her again.